Welcome to another episode of Fight the Burnout. Today, I'm going to bring you some really special tools, some real quick tools that you can do to change from being burned out, and prevent yourself from burning out. So, remember that get a pen and paper, take one thing away from this. It's going to be nice and quick. But as first responders, or even as a corporates, but first responders especially, we deal with a lot of trauma. We see more trauma in the first few weeks than most people will see in their life. I know I did. And my background is I was caught for 7 years. If you're not familiar, if you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome. Thank you. But my background is police officer here in New Zealand for 7 years. I'm originally from California, live here in New Zealand now, have for 16 odd years, and was a cop for 7 of those. Front line for about half of it, and diplomatic protection for the other half. Now, going to that high alertness of diplomatic protection just was the icing on the cake for my trauma as such, my burnout. But during my initial frontline, saw way too much trauma, not even compared to some of my colleagues. But that trauma just compounds. And then what happens is we get burned out. It is just a side effect of it. We start to get aggressive. We start to get tired. We start to break down. And our mind goes into what I call safe mode. You remember those old computers that used to go into safe mode? I'm pretty sure the Microsoft computers still go into safe mode. And if something's not working right, when it goes to reboot after it shuts down randomly, it goes into safe mode. Well, our minds do the same thing. And so we start to get tired. We start to get lethargic. Our memory starts to go. We start to, get a little bit snappy, get angry. We just don't feel like ourselves. Now, this is preventable. Burnout is preventable. PTSD, in a way, can be preventable as well if you have the tools before. Now, we all have trauma. We have all done it. I don't care who you are. We have trauma. We all have some sort of PTSD. And so when you realize that and you actually think about it, and we deal with our past first. So as law enforcement, my biggest thing, and this is what I take people through, is we deal with our childhood stuff. Then it helps us to prevent it from happening again. If we haven't dealt with that childhood trauma, mine, for example, feeling abandonment, feeling like, I wasn't good enough, like I was being judged, all comes from childhood things of my dad going off to chiropractic school, me feeling abandoned, me feeling like I didn't speak up at 5 years old, that little 5-year-old brain. And so that was my interpretation. And so once you actually recognize that and you go back, you can deal with some of that stuff. It then helps prevent that childhood interpretation from controlling what happens when you have a firearms event, or somebody passes away, or you don't save somebody's life, or you tell somebody that loved ones passed away, or you just have the whole world that's going on right now and you're like, this isn't why I joined policing or first responding or law enforcement, and you have all these political things as well, and you get wrapped up in all of this negativity. And it's because that childhood interpretation. So how do we change this? How do we make a difference? So I'm going to give you one key thing, and we're going to, every week, they're going to be in between, or alternating. Each week, there's going to be an episode of myself giving you some tools, and then we're going to also have an interview with a first responder or law enforcement person, current or retired, talking us through what they kind of do and what they've realized and what tools and stuff we can pass on. So make sure you like, subscribe, and join along on the journey, because whether you're law enforcement, first responder, or a corporate, or just interested in preventing yourself from burning out, law enforcement that are one of those high level of and first responders are that high level of stress, so they're more prone to the burnout and PTSD. So key tool today we're going to talk about is state. I've coached a lot of people, first responders, law enforcement, civilians. And the biggest thing is we get wound up into this negative state, this negative being, where we're looking externally consistently. We're looking at they're doing this, they're doing that, and that's affecting me. No, I'm not saying it doesn't, but we have control of what we see in it. We have control of how we look at it. And if we are in control of that mind, again, dealing with some of that past, but you can take it in the present without even having to go back there, uh, it just, it will make an impact, but just not as much. But if we take in the present and we just start to shift things in the present so that we can change our future, what are you focusing on? Our state is all about that focus. How are you holding yourself? Are you holding yourself shoulders back? Are you holding yourself, are you slumped over all the time? Are you looking at yourself in the mirror going, oh my God, it's going to be another one of those days? Or on a Monday, you're going, oh, man, it's Monday again. On a Sunday night, you're going, tomorrow's Monday, I got to go back to work. Even just that language, I've got to go back to work. Because if you change that, it changes your state. I get to go back to work. I get to impact people by having conversations. I get to make an impact by having, doing their accounting. I get to impact people by turning up when they're in the most need, when they don't know what to do. So changing the language, changing the state, changing your focus. I hear it so often, corporate and first responders, of they just don't get us. They don't care about us. And if you're in an industry or in a place where they do, good. Stay focused on it. If you have a boss that cares about you, stay focused on it. Stay focused on the positives. These are some of the key starting points to be able to shift that burnout. Because if we're constantly in that negative mindset, our mind is constantly fighting itself. It's constantly feeling down. It's constantly feeling depressed. Depression is negativity. It's a negative emotion. If we take and we shift that state, we change how we embody ourselves, what we focus on. Just because some of the homeless people that I dealt with as law enforcement were some of the happiest. Now some of them were the most unhappy as well. But the ones that were happy, that were in good, morale, that didn't actually care that they were living underneath the bridge, were the ones that had a good state, a good mindset. Now, they could, yes, go off and do excellent things in that, but they chose not to, and that's a different area where their state could have obviously changed. Their focus could have changed, but they were happy where they were as they were. Some of the most successful people are also some of the most unhappy people that I've met. So what are you doing every day to change that state in what you do? As a law enforcement or first responder, what are you doing to make sure that you're in a good state? A couple key things that you can do is when you first get up in the morning, look at yourself and tell yourself what you want the day to be. Obviously, you hear all the time, gratitude. And if you haven't heard gratitude, saying a couple things that you're grateful for first thing in the morning. Big thing. But what you say is what you get. Your mind does not know what is real and what is not. Whether you see it, hear it, smell it. It believes what you tell it. It believes what you show with emotion behind it. And it will actually believe it. It will actually make it come true. So, where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? Do you want to be the grumpy 30-year-old veteran police officer, first responder? Or do you want to be the happy one that retires at 25, 30 years and is like, man, I could actually do another 10 years. But I'm making a choice. So, where do you want to be? What do you want to do? Change that state. Change that state, change your life. Change that focus, change your state, change that language, change your state, change your body composition, change your physiology, change that state. Now, I didn't all come up with all this, but I'm applying it to burnout and PTSD. PTSD is from compounding or a specific traumatic event because our mind interprets it one way. And you can shift and change. Like I said, the mind knows what it thinks it knows, what you tell it. So you can change the meaning of it. You can change the emotional response to it. Those processes is not always easy, but this is a key thing to not burn out. So, if you enjoyed this, make sure you like, subscribe, send me a message. We help, by actually working through all this, you'll become more productive. Productivity is the direct response of our mind. If our mind is in a bad place, our productivity is going to drop to a bad place. Now you might be like, I am productive, Chris. Are you? Because if you're searching for things to prevent burnout or overcome burnout, I'd say that you're possibly already burning out. And in turn, you're not as productive, or you don't feel as empowered or in control as you once did. So productivity is the direct response of burning out. So, like, subscribe, send us a message. Let us know if you enjoyed this. Let us know if you like this. Love to hear about it. And also remember, you can always email us at team@createfromwhy.com. Or you can go have a look at our programs. We've got a few. We've got some fitness side of stuff, but we've got Knocking Demon Coaching. But we've got knockingdemonfitness.com. We've got createfromwhy.com. So there's a few different things that you can do. You can hit there. But just take this one thing and change that state. Change that focus. Bring awareness to what you're focusing on. And is it in a positive or a negative mindset? Because that can quickly shift your state, shift how you look at everything. And then, we'll keep coming at you with tools. And thank you for listening. And we enjoy being able to serve you. Anyways, till next time. Love you.